What is up, people? We are starting another Web Dev Office Hours today. I want to throw up my little caption really quick because I forgot the last couple of streams. But if you're here and you are feeling up for it, I would highly encourage making a donation to rescue.org's donation fund for the Ukrainian humanitarian aid for people that have been displaced by the war that's going on over there. So if that's something that you're keen on, I would appreciate if you would consider it. And in the meantime, today we are going to get back into the stuff that we've been looking at recently. So what is that? Let me share my screen and we can get started. Let me bring over my code editor and bump some of this stuff up. That looks that good. Oh, that's too big. Okay. This is good right here, I think. I hope. So where are we? We wrote a test yesterday. We are looking at, well, I guess we can just kind of jump into it. I'm going to do npm run side so that we can see what we got into yesterday. It's going to be easier if I kind of show it off instead of trying to explain it. So this is going to run a couple of commands concurrently. One is my dev environment with a test environment variable. And the other command is Cypress open. So what is Cypress open? Let's see. Hopefully it gets working. Looks like it's getting caught by that daylight savings. So sleeping in this morning. Okay, so what's happening is we are getting a Cypress UI pop-up. And this Cypress UI is going to load up all of the test files that we have in our integrations folder. So here is one, calling it sample.test.js. I'm describing my first test. I'm running a little bit of a callback function before each. Is daylight savings permanent yet? Not yet, but hopefully it passed the Senate. We'll see. It's actually really interesting to see how it's affected different people throughout the country, like across the country differently. Because as someone on the West Coast, I'm like, hell yeah, let's get rid of daylight savings. I want as much daylight as possible in wintertime. But I didn't even consider that where people live, like it's going to totally throw off their daylight. Anyway, where we were yesterday, we have a test. We've described our test suite, and then we've written a couple of tests in that test suite. So when we run our sample test file, it's going to kick off a little application. This doesn't need to be open. It's going to load. It's been doing this. I don't know why it does that twice, but it's going to load our application. You see how it loaded that? It kind of like flashed twice. That's because before each, we're going to visit our local dev server. In Southern California, we are in the same little sliver of the US. So that's what I want. Make it easy. No more changing clocks. And then we have a couple of these tests we can actually break in and see like some of the assertions that we've made. So here we're seeing that we are asserting there's this heading with a current text in there. And then we have another heading with hourly, and then we have another heading with daily. And that's kind of how I'm making sure that my test has these three sort of sections in it, or my app has those three sections. So the next thing I want to look at today, definitely the most important thing I want to cover is, what's it called? Cypress plugin acts, something like that. So we're going to do a couple things. One is look at plugins ecosystem for Cypress. And the second one is we're going to do that by looking at this Axe Core library. And Axe Core is an accessibility testing tool. So this makes it super easy for us to just like throw this onto our page and get a report if something is not done correctly in terms of accessibility. So let's go to our code. I'm just going to go open up the terminal from here and PowerShell. I don't want PowerShell. I want, where's my terminal? Kill terminal. There you go, WSL, that's what I wanted. So we'll paste in that install script. That will install Cypress Axe. And then I'm actually going to kick this caption out of the way for now because I think that I was given some feedback that it really gets in the way. So we'll pull that back up at the end as well. Okay, so Cypress Axe. Let's see. Documentation. We've got the dependencies. Why is this a separate thing? Do I need to do that separate? That should just be on the same line. I don't agree with that. Okay, so in our support file, I probably should run that instead of skipping it. Okay, so let's go back to our terminal, run that, even though it would have been nice if it was all the same command. And then we have this import thingy-mabob. Okay. So to actually implement this plugin, we have to go to our file system based on what Cypress itself did for us when we installed Cypress and ran it for the first time. It kind of set us up with some of the file structure that I guess is like commonly used. Okay, so what is it saying again? I think just in that file, in support.index. So support.index, and this is saying it's processed and loaded automatically before your test files. Okay. Global configuration, it modifies Cypress. And then for some reason, I can use this commands file. I'm not sure why I would use this one versus the other one. Maybe it's just to show me that I can do imports here. So we'll leave that. But I guess above everything else, I want to incorporate Cypress Axe. So assuming that's working, it looks like that's restarting. It looks like that's actually restarting my dev server mostly. You know what? That's something I want to fix because this is actually kind of annoying me now that I noticed it and pointed it out. Totally unrelated, but my main.js file, where's Bedrocks? This should be, I should link to the actual file so we're not dealing with a bunch of redirects there. Okay, so that should be faster now. After all, it's freaking fast forecast, right? Cool. Cool. Okay, back to what we were doing. The Cypress stuff. Okay, so add task to log messages to the terminal when Cypress executes the spec file. I have no idea what that means. In test, cypress.task log. Okay, that's kind of weird. I think it's just telling me that I need to run my actual commands. So when I run my test, once we've installed and configured our plugin, which I think hopefully I have correctly, I should be able to just inject Axe like this. So let's get out of our configuration, let's get out of our code, and let's go back to our test. And I'm going to say, I guess I like to do this before any other checks, is just say it is accessible. And that should be all I need to do fingers crossed. We're going to go back to our test suite. That's going to throw an error for whatever reason. So we restart. It is accessible. Okay, great. So that doesn't actually tell us whether it's working. So what I'm going to do is test that it's working or not by throwing in some inaccessible code. So let's say we had this label or this input and we just didn't have a label on it. Now we change our code. We go back to our Cypress test suite. We rerun it and hopefully Cypress is not working. Okay. Guaranteed that should not pass. That is an input without a label. So let's figure out if it's a configuration issue. Actually, I might pull up. Previous project that has had this. This might take a little while. So while that downloads, let's look at this configuration. Oh, there you go. I think I need to actually check it. Okay, so in our test, we are injecting Axe, but we aren't actually executing it. So we check ally, we go to our code, refresh, and it is accessible. There you go. This is okay. This is super cool. I need to stop and actually show this because there's a lot that goes in here. Where am I? So our test fails, right? Our other two tests pass, but our first test fails that it's not accessible. So what happens? We visit the homepage. I think I might change this. Instead of before each, I might just do this as before. Is that not one? That may be a thing. Refresh that. Nope, I guess that's not a thing. I just made that up. Okay, so before each test, we'll visit the homepage because we have to anyway. And then let's see. One cool thing about Cypress, as you see this load, it's going to hang on that for a little bit. You see how that hung out, like that little spinner was going for like a second there? Cypress is really cool because it does this thing where if the test sort of fails immediately, sometimes your code runs faster than your tests. Like things happen faster than they're supposed to. And what Cypress does is it's actually really smart because it will like hold on for a little while and keep trying to run that test. So if you have something that's like asynchronously added to the page, like this H1 or H2, it'll like, and you tell Cypress, hey, I expect this H1 or H2 to be on the page. Cypress can wait for like a second or two. And then if it doesn't find it within that time, then it says, okay, this actually is an issue. But it's really smart about that. So it will like not throw an error if it immediately doesn't find it. It hangs out. So that was one thing that's cool, worth pointing out about Cypress that I love. And then here we have these accessibility things. So we have an assertion that says assert whatever one accessibility violation was expected or was detected. Expected 1 to equal 0. What it's saying here is that we found one error. We expected to find 0 errors. Then it goes further into our test that says like what the actual error was. And this is not very helpful at all. So if that doesn't make sense to you, that's fine. That's basically because the testing component is saying 1 should equal 0 and 1 doesn't currently equal 0. Well, how do we actually get the information about what test failed or how we can fix it, right? Like this is not super helpful. View stack trace, print to console. I don't know what that is. But let me refresh this page. How you can actually get helpful information out of this accessibility check is, I guess, a number of ways. You could load your application in the browser and do I have an accessibility checker? Well, you can run like Axe, I guess. Oh, it's not 88,000, it's 3,000. You could run like an accessibility tool, Axe Dev Tools by DQ. This is a browser extension that you can install. I think somewhere, install free Chrome extension. Yeah. And then you can run it, like do your extension stuff and run it, whatever. And it will show you all of the same errors and it will help you find those errors. But since we're using Cypress, one thing that took me a while to figure out is the accessibility errors that are found by Axe DevTools in Cypress are actually printed to the console, or they should be. Oh yeah, they are, but I have to click on the error itself. So you see how we're doing this this sort of snapshot thing that I showed in the last stream, where we can actually like travel through time and see what happens when we do stuff. All of these little sidebar steps that our test is going to run through, they'll actually do things like print stuff and take a snapshot of what was printed to the console. So where we have our accessibility error, we can see in the console that the command has an accessibility error. Let me bump that text up too, just so we can make it clear. We don't need that window so much. So we can see we have an accessibility error. The ID is label, and that corresponds to like the error ID in DQ's or Axe DevTools like error library. The impact is critical, so you may want to address it or you may not want to, whatever. There's some tags as far as what this error is related to. I'm not going to go into what these are, but it's kind of just like the categories of errors that this is. And then this is where we get pretty helpful information. So the description: ensure every form element has a label, and help form elements must have labels, help URL. So this is cool because this will, what is that? Can I open a new tab? No, can I just copy that? The help URL is going to give us a lot of information around what the error is and how to fix the problem. So if you want to learn accessibility stuff, this actually will like kind of help with that. I mean, DQ University is really top tier resource for that. Next thing is the nodes. So this is where things get really cool. So let's see if can I squeeze this down a bit? No, can I just make that go away? Yeah, there you go. I want to show a little bit of the app as well as we do this. So we have the issue highlighted because we've pinned our test. So as I scroll through my tests over here and I get to that accessibility issue, I can click on that and pin that the state of the application as Cypress went through it. It's going to highlight the DOM node that is experiencing this accessibility issue. And then down here, it's even going to show me which nodes these are. So I think if I hover over one of these, where is it? Is it not? Oh, there it is. Well, it's going to show me the text of the node that it's related to. So anyway, this is all super helpful to say. Hopefully it's clear that, you know, if I want to address accessibility issues, just having this Axe plugin and Cypress run makes it really nice. Now, this is a check that other testing tools could actually catch. Like we were using Vitest previously. Vitest could probably catch this because it's all based on markup, like what markup we're actually sending as HTML. So whatever the result is that's generating this markup, input and label can be found. What other testing tools don't catch very often is things like color contrast. So we don't have any color contrast issues, but if this were like a black on black, Cypress, because Cypress is running an actual like not a simulated browser, but an actual browser environment, and Axe's dev tools can be injected in there, it can run and find all of the issues that other testing tools can't. So accessibility stuff or color contrast stuff, for example. Super cool. Any questions so far? I feel like I've been just like rambling on about these things. Yeah. So colorblind contrast is a good question. Let me see. I just want to test this. If I click this, yeah, either of these would have helped me find that error, right? So this assertion here shows me. Oh no, actually, this one's not very helpful. Just this little ally error here. That's the one that's going to help you like actually solve what the problem is. Ensure every form element has a label, and it points me to the right thing. So as far as the question, does Axe DevTools actually check for like color blind, or what is that? Color blind contrast too? And this is I guess a yes and a no answer, because Axe doesn't explicitly test for color blindness. Axe tests for compliance with the accessibility guidelines like WCAG, which is the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. It's, let's see, if you're interested in accessibility stuff, where is it? Yeah, w3.org, the WCAG guidelines. You can find it. Polypane. I've heard of Polypane. I don't remember off the top of my head what it is. Polypane. There you guys go again. Oh yeah, I have seen this. This is super cool. This is like if you want to test. Wait, is it the browser for ambitious developers? Yeah, I forget what this does. I do remember seeing it though, and I remember thinking, "Oh, that's super cool." Sorry, dropped a thumbtack on the ground. I don't want to find that later by surprise, if you know what I'm saying. Yes, yeah, that is a cool tool for testing. So the original question, yeah, where I was feeling especially ADD today. Where the question I was answering was whether Axe tests for colorblind contrast, and I guess the short answer is yes, but it's kind of a roundabout answer because they don't explicitly test for different types of color blindness. I mean, there's like 9 or 10 different color blindness that I'm familiar with. But because the Web Content Accessibility Guideline explicitly outlines color contrast requirements in a ratio, and like a mathematical ratio, meaning this color plus this color contrasted would equal like a number 4 versus a number 1. Maybe we can find it. Color contrast. I don't know. Contrast. I'm not going to go into that. But because it explicitly outlines the minimum value that color contrast must comply to, those values will be good enough for people with different color blindness to still be able to see, if that makes sense. Essentially, like if you have, what are the different color blindnesses? Types of color blindness. Yeah, so there's like red, green, blue, yellow, whatever. There's a whole bunch of different ones. But essentially, yeah, look, 3 of them there, 2 of them there. Essentially, if you just set color contrast between 2 different colors high enough, then people that have these different types of color blindness will still be able to read the text despite not being able to see like different colors. Was that clear? I hope that made sense. Okay, so if there's no more questions, I'm going to continue on. I'm going to fix my accessibility issues. Now that I have Axe actually checking for accessibility, I can say, oh, my input doesn't have a label. Dearie me. Oops. Oh, shoot. What did I do? Oh no, I broke everything. Okay, there we go. Got that back in place. Our application is going to run in Axe DevTools. I think it should have reran. I think the experience with Cypress and all of this is actually even better on different environments. The Windows WSL stuff is still kind of funky because I have to run. This is essentially what's going on. It's actually kind of interesting that I got it figured out. What's going on here is my code is running in a terminal, right? Like that's the process that I'm executing is running in this terminal. This terminal is the Windows subsystem for Linux terminal. So it's running in like a tiny little isolated Ubuntu instance within my larger Windows computer. And that Ubuntu like virtual environment technically is the one that's bringing up this GUI or this UI. But that UI is part of Ubuntu. It's not part of Windows. So I have to have this like, I guess I would call it like a tunnel or something like that, that essentially allows the Windows subsystem for Linux graphical UIs to be interfaceable within the Windows operating system or the Windows UIs. Pain in the butt. Did not enjoy the process of getting that set up, but Cypress actually did have good documentation around how to do that. I didn't do a good job reading the first time around, which is my MO, but we got it working. So now it's going well, and I think where I think it's better on other operating systems is like if I hit save on this test and I say, I don't know, I just even add just some white space, Cypress will rerun, and you see like on my system for some reason it can't load this. Oh dang, I know what's going on. It's not what I was thinking. What's going on is when I hit save, both my local dev server and my Cypress server get started. Okay. And then because Cypress is so quick, it actually gets up and running faster before my local dev server is ready to handle the request. Dang. Okay. That's why error connection refused. Okay. But then by the time I rerun this test, it runs just fine. Okay, cool. Good to know. Fun stuff to figure out. All right, what's the next test I want to do? There's not a whole lot that we actually need to test, I think. With accessibility checks in place, like that's one of my biggest concerns. What's funny here is Cypress, the browser inside of Cypress doesn't know what to do with these emojis. That's funny. So all of my unit tests really cover a lot of like the actual functional code that's going to be presented to the page. So I think the only other thing I want to check is this interaction. So this is the other. Yeah, right? Isn't that weird? Isn't it funny how like sometimes you're just like have to make assumptions, like everything's just a black box and most of the time you don't even think about it. I just want to get it to work and move on with my life. But yeah, I need to figure out a better solution for that because I actually know what the solution is. Let's like npm wait on. The solution is going to be this guy. Just because I can't be bothered to actually not use a package. What we can do is have this wait on library that we can say, like I can wait on my server to start and then I can run the next command. Maybe I'll do that another time. But with the time that I have left, I want to actually write some code and do another cool Cypress thing. So before I get too far into that, I do want to say I may not be following best practices here, or what I consider best practices with my tests, because my test is still called sample.test.js. I think a better solution would probably be like separating out tests for different user flows. So if you have a more complex application, you might have a user flow that's like make a purchase or create an account or something like that. So you would maybe have different integration tests for that. My application is pretty simple, so I'm even just going to leave it called sample test or sample.test.js. And we're just going to do all of our tests in here because I don't think we have a lot of Cypress tests that we need to write. So the next one is what does it do? It submits the form, right? It submits the form, and then all of the logic for handling the submission is actually just going to go to the back end anyway. But well, let's see what we do. It updates the location from the user query. Okay, so this is going to be a cool one, I think. And I don't know how to do this off the top of my head, but we're going to do cypress.get. And then it kind of helped me there. And then I want to get this element here, which is the input. So yeah, it totally got that for me. That's pretty nice. The input location. So there's a lot of ways we can do this. You might think to use this ID and say, I want to get this input with the ID of location. That would totally work. One thing I've seen is, well, you might be tempted to use like classes or things like that. And one of the problems with making querying for elements based on data attributes or class names or IDs is that those things can change. Something that probably won't change very frequently that I like to use is this name. And I think there's another way. If the label was wrapping the input, we also could have like found the label with the text of search location and then got the input inside of there. But I want to get the input with the name of location. The reason why I trust this is because that data, the way the form is sending the data as the name, that kind of is a contract between the front end and the back end. If the back end is expecting data to be sent with the name property, then everything about this input can change. I can rewrite what the label says, or like instead of search location, I can make this say like, what's your location? I can change all of the classes on this input, all the data attributes, but it's pretty unlikely that this name attribute is going to change because, again, the backend is expecting that name attribute. So with that in place, I'd say it's pretty safe to use that, like query the input by name location. And then the next cool thing is Cypress has this really awesome feature where it will type for you. So if it did it right, it should have ran already. Now look at that. How cool is that? I didn't have to type that in there. And they get rid of, you can probably get rid of that. So I'm going to rerun this. Can I rerun this? How do I do this? Okay. Well, we'll just walk through it with the time traveling thing. So if I'm on this test and I visit the home page, right? So let's scroll up. I visit the home page. You can see that the search location doesn't have any text in it or any text. And then I get the input. So now we can see that that input is highlighted. And then Cypress, I tell Cypress, hey, type this input in there. So it's going to find that. And then, well, it's just going to put a little red dot. I don't know what that means, but by the end of it, Cypress will actually type the value in there. And this is cool because it simulates how a user is actually going to use the application. So other testing tools, you like inject your own values in there. But because this is a running browser, we want these tests to work exactly how a user would use it. So I'm going to change that to Portland, Oregon, because that's what I want. Portland, Oregon. And then that should type in there. And then I need to submit the form. I think I can do like press or something. Oh, yeah, there was something else I wanted to show. You see how Cypress, let's see. Cypress, okay, it does know what that is. Interesting. If I do cy dot, okay, yeah, we do have the TypeScript stuff in there. Okay, never mind. So I want to type Portland, Oregon, and then I want to like press enter. I don't know how to do that. So let's go to Cypress.io and look at the docs. And I want to search for enter key. Enter. Press or keyboard, maybe. Cypress shortcuts, maybe. No, I think I want the API. Okay, API. Click works, but not really what I want. Invoke. That might be it. Let me get a property. Invoke function previously yield subject. Nope, that's not it. Let's see. Right click. That's cool. So, oh, trigger. I think this is it. Okay, let's see. Trigger event name, trigger touch start, mouse sleeve. Man, why is this so? Cypress. Key down, enter key. How to type and press enter. There you go. Okay, type Cypress. Yeah. Where's the enter key? Oh man, this is what I get for search by typing and pressing enter. As you can see, the first test searches type. Oh, there you go. Okay, so I guess I need to include this little doodad. I think my mouse is dying. Oh no, it just died. Okay, let's get some juice to the mouse. Excuse me 1 second. The mouse is hungry and I need to feed it. Yep, all done. Okay, so going back to our tests, we should be able to type Portland, Oregon, and then hit the enter key. And if we go back, nope, wrong one. If we go back here, yeah, we still got that localhost thing. We're going to rerun our test. Oh, that's so cool. I don't know if you caught that. But it basically types in there super fast and then hits that enter key. Can I rerun just a single test? I would like to. I know I can rerun. No, I guess I can't. Okay, so what happened here? Cypress detected cross-origin error happened on page load. The URL does not match the origin policy. You can also disable Chrome web security and Chromium. Okay, well, let's try this because I don't know why it's throwing that error. Really, the form should just submit to itself. So let's go down to cypress.json. This is another file that Cypress, man, what is going on with this mouse? It's not the battery. Okay, that's better. This is another file that Cypress set up for us. So let's try that. I'm going to, I think it's catching all that automatically. Yeah, let's run our sample test again. And let's see. Okay. All right. That seemed to fix the issue. I don't know what the problem was there. It's saying, yeah, I don't know. So getting back to the actual test though, two things I want to check here. One, I want to check, technically the behavior that I want to check is that the location is being sent in the query string parameter. That's not really so important from a technical perspective, because the reason that information is being sent as the URL query string parameter is because that's how forms work in the browser. I don't need to write assertions I don't need to make assertions about things that have already been tested. That is outside of the responsibility of my application. The way forms work, the way the browser works, I can just trust that that works. Don't need to write a test for that. This is also information that is really only important for the backend. The backend only cares about that. So it's not really important that the query string parameter is there in terms of the front end end-to-end tests. What is important is that we are actually seeing the results of our test in our UI. So when I submit that, I'm actually going to do one other thing, is throw back to the library we used before. I'm going to bring in Faker from, what was it? And I don't even remember. Faker. Here we go. So we are going to bring in Faker. And the reason why is because I want to generate a fake city. So const city state is going to equal faker.address city plus address state aber. I guess that's not, no, I don't want I want the state. Just give me the whole state. I really don't like this syntax, so we're going to do some of this, wrap those in some curlies, throw some backticks on the beginning. I'm all over the board with this, but it gets done. We're going to have a little comma in there as well. And then the city state is going to be what we actually type in to our query. And then we hit enter. And then the last thing is I want to actually assert that the city is there. So I want to say it's not an H1. That was a really good guess by GitHub Copilot. It should be an H2. I'm not sure I want it. I'm not really sure that I want to assert that it's an H2 or H1 or H2. So I'm going to what am I going to do? I'm going to use another new thing that I have used before. Hopefully it still works, but I'll be introducing it newly on this stream. Well, let's do it this way. H2 contains. So there is this like CSS pseudo element or pseudo selector that isn't a true CSS pseudo selector. It's only currently available in Cypress, or at least I don't know if it's available other places, but it's not something that is like usable in the browser. This is a custom Cypress syntax that allows us to look for specific text. So we're going to do this, copy that, and we're going to say, grab this guy. If I get this right, we'll actually be kind of impressed. And we're going to change that and change that. So, and I think I want to change this to say that it should exist. So what this syntax does is it's going to say, hey, go and find an H2 that contains this text. So if I did that right and I'm not wrong about how I used to do it, this should run. Also, shout out to the Cypress team that every time I hit save, all of my tests run again. That's really handy. And look at that. Updates the user query. If we do our little time travel, we can load the application. We can find our input. We can write the text of, it looks like in this case, it was Blanca Mouth something, Delaware. We can submit the form. The page will reload. We'll be at a new URL. And then we will get this H2 containing the text, weather for Blanca Mouth, Delaware. So that is working as expected. That's super cool. Super cool, super interesting. Hopefully y'all are finding that interesting as well. So now what I want to do is actually, because before I said like what happens if the structure of our page changes, we don't want our tests to be super brittle, right? This may be an H2 today, maybe it'll be an H3 tomorrow, maybe it'll be an H1. Who knows? Changing the heading level doesn't really matter for the sake of the functionality that we're testing. The functionality that we're testing here is really just saying that this text is going to be here. Whatever you search for is going to end up here. So I want to see, yeah, super neato. I want to see, right, instead of an H2, we can actually do a more broad query selection and just find any text that has, or any element that has that text. So come back here, boop, 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 boop. And it went just fine, right? We go back down here. We can do our assertion. It's looking for Shannonville, South Dakota. And sure enough, what's going on with that snapshot? Oh, yeah. Okay. So now the selection of contains Shannonville, South Dakota, it's passing, but it's selecting the entire document because the entire document, we basically said anything that contains that. And sure enough, the entire document definitely has weather for Shannonville, South Dakota. Is that okay? I think so. I don't want my tests to be too brittle because it's a pain in the butt when a bunch of tests are breaking and it's not like the functionality hasn't actually broken. So I think this is good enough. What are we doing next? I think that may be it. One thing that I would like to see is like, I'd like to check the cookies somehow. But I even think that the cookies we're setting are HTTP only. So, well, the browser, Cypress would know. Cypress would have access to the cookies. JavaScript would not. Let me see. This is going into uncharted territory for me. Let me go to the docs and see if Cypress has a way for interacting with the cookies. Sure enough, it does. So example, Cypress get cookie token should have property. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, well, I'm going to try this. We could actually go really long with this stuff. So, by the way, I think this is going to be the last stream. Unless y'all have questions, other Cypress stuff that you want me to go into, this might be my last stream on the testing stuff. We did the Vitest, we did Cypress. It's kind of like introductory. There's a bunch of stuff that we didn't cover. There's a lot of other use cases that our application was not complex enough to actually warrant. But yeah, I think I'm ready to move on to the next thing. But I want to see it updates the cookies with the new location. So what I want to do here, what's the next thing? Oh, I don't know. I mean, I know, but I don't know if I want to share. I guess I could share. Y'all are here. I got to give you something to come back, right? I want to build. So I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I have, let's see, if we go to twitter.com/hey Austin Gill, one thing that I've really wanted is to update this banner image here. And of course I can do that manually. Yeah, tune in next time. Well now, okay, so should I say or should I not say? I'm gonna say, because then you guys can decide if you want to come or not. But this banner, like I've been wanting to update this with like a Pokemon battle scene so that it looks like I'm the battling Pokemon here. And then up in the top right would be like the challenging Pokemon, right? And then, you know, I could add like custom images, and I was thinking I would put like a JavaScript logo up there. So it's like, oh, I'm constantly battling JavaScript, right? Pretty funny. I think so. And I just thought it'd be cool to do a Vue 3 application that works with a canvas element and lets you customize what that image in the top right, like what it is that you're going to be battling. It'd also be cool if we can do other banner things for maybe like not Facebook, because Facebook is absolutely terrible, but any other sort of banner image, maybe like Twitch, right? I am such a geek. Yeah, it's going to be great. But yeah, so I think something, it'd be cool to get into like sound effects too, because that's something that we don't do a lot in web apps, like little whimsical, when you click a button, it just does like a or something. That would be cool. And then at the end of all of this, so we work with a canvas element, we learn how to position stuff. We can like generate the image, and then at the end it like lets you download it somehow. So I'm not sure. I've done some canvas stuff, but not a ton. So it would be some fun learning stuff for me. I have a lot of experience with Vue, but not a ton with Vue 3. So that would be fun too. And yeah, totally like nerding out on something that I want to see in the world. That's a big motivation for what I build. Build stuff that I actually want to have exist. So that's the idea. All right, so let's get this cookies thing done and call it a day. Okay, we're going to do the same sort of thing. We're going to generate a fake city. We're going to enter it. And then we're going to say, check the cookies. So Cypress get cookies. Const, or just console log it. Console log. Oh, that's not, what? Okay. What am I doing with my life? There you go. Console log that. And this is, see, this is another one of those things that I don't think Cypress has. Oh, it totally does. Wait, can I do that and only run that? No, no way. Have I just been missing out on that my whole life? Everyone else knew this except me? What the heck, guys? Okay, cool. So open up the console. Open up the console, I said. Please. There you go. Okay, so get cookies. Oh, super easy. Get cookies is going to give us an array. Okay. Got to run. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out. Really appreciate it. I gotta, yeah. I'm looking to check out the next project. Yeah, come back. It should be fun. Hey, let me know if there's a better time for streams for you, because I've been thinking about changing my time as well. So let's see. Get cookies. Okay, I actually just want to get a single cookie. That's not how you spell cookie. Get cookie, which it's going to tell me, let's see, it takes a name, right? So I want to get the location cookie. And let's see what that's going to tell me. That should rerun or not. Yeah, there you go. Something. What is that error? I don't know what that error is. Okay. No commands were issued. Okay, that looks like it worked. There is something I'm missing. I'm missing get cookie. Get cookie. Oh, because it gives us. Okay, it gives us the Cypress object thing. Which syntax do I want? Oh, that's interesting. I think I want to work with get cookies. No, I'll work with get cookie. This looks good. Okay, so I'm gonna say my cookie is going to be Cypress, get the location cookie, and then the cookie should have a property of value, which should be set to the city state, because we're not doing any sort of manipulation. We're just storing that straight in the cookie. And I think instead of trying to just console log everything, I can probably just come here and say, look at my application tab, look at my storage, look at my cookies. I do have that. I need to see a lot of information about this, actually. The domain, the path, what is that? Session size. So I'm not doing anything like HTTP only or any of these other flags. So I think we should be good with just checking the value of the cookie. So that should be good. We'll hit save. And one thing before we do our search is console log cy dot get cookies. So what I'm going to do here is I want to check the value of I want to check the value of any previously set cookies and ensure that whatever the location cookies is after we do the search has been changed. Hopefully that's clear. Okay, so let's go back to our console. And we are down here. Let's see, get cookies. Okay, cool. So it yields none. So that's perfect. This is exactly what I want. I want cy.get cookie location should not, perfect. The location cookie should not exist. And then after, let's see, do that, we'll do this. So the location cookie should not exist, first of all. And then we should update like the search. And then after the page loads, our new location cookie should exist and should have the value of whatever the value was that we entered. Cool. That's it. That's my test. I feel pretty good about that. So this checks quite a unique flow where we have no cookie. We entered some value, right? We started the page with East Caliburg, Florida, Iceland. And then at some point, the user added Lake Libby, Florida to the search, submitted that form, the page reloaded, and then the new cookies are stored in the browser and they exist and they have the property of Lake Libby, Florida. Pretty freaking happy with that. That is the end of the stream. Way better than some of the other streams I've had recently trying to debug and figure a bunch of stuff out. What'd you think? Let me know. So let's see. Any cleanup I need to do? No, I think we did pretty well. We did the accessibility checks and we did some interactive checks. So that's cool. I'm going to push this stuff up so that everyone has it that wants it. Ally and interact and cookies tests. Yeah. I mean, the testing stuff is cool. I definitely think it's like helpful and interesting to a certain degree. But I think the actual like front end building something that's tangible and shareable, I think that's going to be a lot more interesting and fun to work on. So this was fun, a fun little foray into testing and everything. It's there if you need it. Excuse me. I'm going to throw up this other little call out to support people in Ukraine that are suffering from displacement due to war. A lot of families out there that could use some support. If you are willing and able, it would be a really awesome thing to do. I know Netlify right now is currently matching donations. So if you want to do double the good, you can, I think if you just go to netlify.com, let's see, netlify.com, they should have a banner. Yes, no. Well, they were matching donations. They may have hit their limit, but regardless of donation matching or not, I think it's a cool thing to do. So let me turn that off. And yeah, I think it'd be awesome. So if you do, let me know, and I would really appreciate it. A lot of the money in this link down here goes to people that have been displaced and need like medical aid, food, shelter, psychological assistance. So that would be awesome. And until tomorrow, I will be back at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard. And in the meantime, let's see. I'm going to see if I can find someone to raid. So who is on? There we go. What's B Doogie doing? We're going to check that out. All right. The raid will start momentarily. And thanks for hanging out. I will see you tomorrow, hopefully with a new project.